Hi, I'm Hannah. Welcome back to Airlearn English, where we make learning English simple, fun, and unforgettable. I want you to feel confident about your knowledge of English grammar. That's why in today's lesson, I'm going to explain all the basic English grammar you need to know. In this video, I'll discuss the most important grammar rules for beginners, such as articles, parts of speech, sentence structure, and more. There will even be a short quiz at the end to test what you learned. This method of learning something new and then testing yourself on it is also used in my favorite language app, Airlearn. Airlearn teaches you a grammar topic, then gives different real-life scenarios for you to actually practice what you learned. Alright, let's begin this lesson by talking about the building blocks of sentences, parts of speech. There are 8 parts of speech in English, and every word in an English sentence is a part of speech. The parts of speech are noun, pronoun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. Now, you've probably heard of nouns before. Nouns are people, places, things, and ideas. But did you know that there's 2 types of nouns in English? Common nouns are non-specific. For example, woman, teacher, city, school, book, car, love, peace. Common nouns are not capitalized unless they start a sentence. Proper nouns are specific. People, places, things, and ideas. People's names, cities, countries, names of streets, days of the week, and months of the year are all proper nouns. Proper nouns are always spelled with a capital letter. For example, Sally Smith, Paris, United States of America, Park Avenue, Monday, July. Next, we have pronouns. Pronouns replace nouns in a sentence. There are 3 main types. Personal pronouns, such as I, me, you, he, him, she, her, it, we, us, and they, them. Possessive pronouns like mine, yours, his, hers, ours, its, and theirs. Lastly are demonstrative pronouns. This, that, these, and those. Verbs express an action or state of being. They can be changed to the past, present, and future tense. There's 2 types of verbs. Regular verbs, which follow a normal pattern of conjugation. For example, walk, laugh, jump, dance, and play. These regular verbs all follow the pattern of adding ed to the end to form the past tense. I walk becomes I walked in the past tense. Laugh becomes laughed, and so on. Irregular verbs, on the other hand, do not follow the normal pattern of conjugation. For example, eat, take, see, go, and run. These irregular verbs do not follow a consistent pattern. In the past tense, eat becomes ate, take becomes took, and see becomes saw. You'll have to memorize irregular verbs separately as they have no pattern. The best way to memorize these tricky verbs is by practicing with the Airlearn app. The next parts of speech are adjectives and adverbs. Both are modifying and descriptive. Adjectives modify nouns and pronouns. For example, the brown hat. Here, brown is the adjective and it describes what kind of hat. The big orange cat. Big and orange are both adjectives describing the cat. Adverbs modify or describe verbs, as well as adjectives, nouns, and other adverbs. For example, I ran quickly. Here, quickly is the adverb that describes how I ran. Next are prepositions. These are common words that, when used in a prepositional phrase, describe when and where. For example, I go to the gym. Here, the prepositional phrase is to the gym, and to is a preposition describing where I go. Now, look at this sentence. I go to the gym at 6 a.m. At 6 a.m. is yet another prepositional phrase. At is the preposition which describes when I go to the gym. Moving on to conjunctions. Conjunctions are parts of speech which join words, phrases, and clauses. And, or, but, so, these are some common conjunctions. Let's look at these two separate sentences. She gets dressed. She goes to work. We can use the conjunction and to join the two sentences. She gets dressed and she goes to work. Lastly, we have interjections. These are 1, 2, or 3 words you can put together to express emotions. For example, I can say, yay, to express excitement, wow, to express happiness, and oh no, to express disappointment. Now let's talk about sentence structure. There are 4 types of sentences in English. First, we have declarative sentences. These are statements that end with a period. They declare something. I like pizza. Interrogative sentences are questions that naturally end with a question mark. Do you like pizza? Exclamatory sentences show strong feelings and end with an exclamation mark. They love pizza. And imperative sentences are commands and instructions. For example, eat the pizza. The most basic English sentence structure includes a subject and a predicate. The subject is a noun or pronoun and any modifying words. The predicate is a verb plus any modifying words, such as adverbs. The predicate describes the subject. For example, in this sentence, they like pizza. They is the subject, and like pizza is the predicate. It's a verb plus an object which describes they. Let's take another sentence. The 3 friends like pineapple pizza. Can you tell me what the predicate and subject are? The 3 friends is the subject, and like pineapple pizza is the predicate. Now moving on to word order. English sentences generally follow the pattern of subject plus verb plus object. They like pizza. However, for yes or no questions, the verb and subject switch places. For example, in this sentence, do they like pizza? Do is an auxiliary verb that comes before the subject they and the main verb like. So there is always a verb before the subject in yes or no questions in English. Are you okay? Is it raining? In these yes or no questions, is and are verbs which come before the subject. Try to remember this word order because a very common mistake non-native speakers make is using the incorrect word order in yes or no questions. For example, many of my students will ask, she is coming? Instead of, is she coming? Next, we'll talk about articles in English. There are 3, the, and a. The, or the, is a definite article. It specifically describes something you're talking about that you've already mentioned before or is known to the listener. For example, we took a train. The train was 10 minutes late. A and an are indefinite articles. They describe a singular countable noun that you've not mentioned before. An is used before vowel sounds. For example, an elephant. A is used before consonants. A sandwich. So I would say, I have a dog. The dog is black. It's not, I have dog is black. Now, I just mentioned one common mistake English learners make, confusing the word order in yes or no questions. I want to discuss a few more common grammatical mistakes that learners make so you can avoid them. One mistake students make is trying to directly translate from their native language into English. This doesn't work because a lot of the grammar and phrases in someone's native language don't match the rules for English. For example, Japanese and Korean are subject, object, verb languages. So while in English, we say, they like pizza, in Japanese, it's technically they pizza like, according to that language's sentence structure. That's why it's so important to think in English when speaking English, and not attempt to do a direct translation from your native language into English. The next common mistake is forgetting to say the correct plural forms of nouns. For example, saying persons instead of people. Persons are nice is incorrect. It's people are nice. I also hear many students forgetting to conjugate verbs in their plural form. For example, instead of saying, the team is losing, a common mistake I hear is, the team are losing, or they likes pizza instead of they like pizza. Learners also frequently get confused about how to form a negative statement in English. For example, many will say the sentence, I don't like nothing. In English, a double negative becomes a positive, so the correct way to say this is, I don't like anything. Okay, that's all for the grammar lesson. Now let's take a short quiz. This is going to be a true or false quiz to test your knowledge about the basic English grammar we covered in this video. Number 1, true or false? In this sentence, the word quietly is an adjective. The girl quietly reads her book. False. The word quietly is an adverb in this sentence. It explains how the girl reads her book. Number 2, true or false? The word that in this sentence is a pronoun. That apple pie looks yummy. True. That is a demonstrative pronoun. Number 3, true or false? This is an imperative sentence. How are you? False. How are you is an interrogative sentence because it's a question. Number 4, true or false? Ouch is a conjunction. False. It's an interjection. Number 5, true or false? This statement is correct. Can you give me an apple? False. The indefinite article an should be used before vowel sounds. So, can you give me an apple is correct. Number 6, true or false? In this sentence, they like pineapple pizza. They is the predicate and like pineapple pizza is the subject. False. They is the subject and like pineapple pizza is the predicate. Number 7, true or false? This statement is correct. I walked 10 miles yesterday. True. Walk is a regular verb, so in the past tense, we add ed to the end and it becomes walked. Number 8, true or false? This statement is correct. The childs are going to school. False. The plural of child is children, so the correct way to say this is, the children are going to school. Alright, that's the end of our quiz. How well did you do? Do you feel more confident about your knowledge of English grammar? If you want to avoid the common mistakes we discussed, or master those tricky irregular verbs which have no real pattern, then you just have to keep practicing. Airlearn is the best app for practice, and I guarantee if you use it consistently, you'll actually remember the grammar rules you learned here. That's all for today's lesson. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss a chance to improve your English. Keep practicing, and I'll see you next time on Airlearn English.